Welcome on board, everyone. Welcome to another session of GIF 21. Some of you have already seen the YouTHink Coop. It is an initiative that we started within the ICA-EU partnership in order to give a few more spaces for youth to start discussing issues that they are really important for them. And we thought, okay, through the GIF, we cannot escape, let's say, not having a YouTHink Coop. So here we are today with three great speakers and young leaders and young professionals and young citizens, I will say, because we will see like the whole spectrum of decision making and what does it mean power dynamics for all of us. So thanks for everyone coming on board. We will have the opportunity, of course, to hear from all of you. And most probably, I don't know, for those that they have seen already the first part of the YouTHink Coop, that it was mainly focused on cooperative entrepreneurship. We try to create a sort of environment that is as interactive as possible. Of course, here, Anna, Teepee, and Tapiwa, they are keen on sharing their ideas. But don't think that this session will be just you chilling in your sofa and not exchanging with us. So let's say take a sip of coffee or tea and let's discuss all together in this kind of online table that we have put together for you. I will start with our main question today. And I would like to see how people and if people around the table, they do feel empowered. I know that Andrea will put already a poll on, so we can check also your feelings without like really, let's say, really talking so far. But I would like to start also asking our speakers if someone would like to share with us if you do feel empowered, and if you feel empowered, do you feel empowered in your personal life, in your professional life, or maybe both? And what makes you feel empowered? Anyone that would like to take the first shot of this kind of discussion, let's say, today? Anna. I see you unmute yourself, so please go ahead.
I was politely waiting for my colleagues to go first. Okay. Damn it. I can't escape. Okay. Yeah, I do feel empowered. I think empowerment, it's an interesting thing, and I think it starts from self-worth and satisfaction with your own ideas. But for me, it really involves coherence. So, for example, I think the moments that I feel more empowered is when I know that what I'm saying, it's not necessarily true for everyone, but it's my truth, and it's based on experiences that I have, and that I'm being true to what I believe, and that my actions and my words are aligned. I think that's when I feel most empowered. And I think these kind of forums where we come together and talk about co-op youth, for instance, give me a lot of empowerment, because I feel that there are people that are like me, and that I am able to share experiences and learn from other colleagues. But also I feel legitimate, because I am part of the ICA Youth Committee, but I am also part of a cooperative myself. So when we talk about cooperative entrepreneurship, I can speak my truth from the perspective of someone that went through the process. And so I feel very at peace, really, with myself, sharing my experience and talking maybe also from the committee's perspective, but from the perspective of someone that lived it. So I think that's when I feel more empowered. Like, people listen, I listen, and I speak from the truth of being coherent. I think that's my empowerment.
Super, thanks a lot, Anna. Anyone else that wants to echo, or maybe like share his or her own truth? Teepee, Tapiwa? I will start with you, and then I see the chat moving, which makes me really happy. But what makes you people feel empowered? Please give us some reasons on the chat as well, why you feel empowered. Tapiwa. No, Teepee, sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to let Teepee go first.
Sorry. I feel empowered when I'm represented. So if youth is represented in a certain environment, and like right now I'm representing my country, so that makes me feel empowered, and you listening to me makes me feel empowered. And also to when somebody believes in me and what I do and supports the causes that we believe in, that's the time that I feel very empowered. And when I train younger people than me and I see them flourish, I feel so warm inside when they are engaged to the things that we do, and they become more capable to become future leaders of society in general. Go Tapiwa.
Yeah. Georgia, you're mute.
Perdón. Sorry. Thank you, Teepee. I was saying Tapiwa. Now you can take the floor. Sure, go ahead.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think I have different levels of empowerment that I feel. So I think with what you mentioned, Georgia, as a citizen, I don't feel as empowered. Just for the context of the people in the room, I'm based in Harare, Zimbabwe, in Africa. And so I think generally as citizens, within the country, there's less of a feeling of empowerment because of how constrained like the public spaces are by a government that can be arguably authoritarian in a way. So I'd say, yeah, as a citizen, there is a feeling of less empowerment just because I don't feel like I have a lot of agency to participate. But yeah, definitely professionally, I feel super empowered. I think also just resonating with what Teepee and Anna said, even being in this space right now, being listened to by other people as a sort of expert coming from my own experience and my own organization and being part of a cooperative. It's nice to have that feeling. So I do feel empowered in this moment, and even in sort of the day-to-day work that I do, definitely within our organization, I feel, yeah, a lot of agency to be able to speak my own truth and to share the perspective, not only my country, but just generally around Africa, because our organization is global. So yeah, I would say it's different between those two settings that I'm in, and that I feel different levels of empowerment, for sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Tapiwa. Yeah, Anna, please go ahead. Sure, shoot.
Sorry. And then I think that what Tapiwa was sharing is so true. Is when you feel that someone trusts you to give your opinion, and it happens a lot to me in the last maybe months that I've been present in a couple of forums for Coop Youth, and I'm like, why people trust me, like, but this gives me a huge empowerment of like my own decisions, and even sometimes I feel like, okay, do I know enough to give my opinion? Like, am I legitimate in this to give an opinion of the youth of the co-op movement about something? But then, I talk in these forums and I talk to you guys, and then when you express very openly your feeling or your opinion, and then the feedback is so welcomed, like, okay, so that was very nice that you said that, or it was very straight, or thanks for sharing. And I'm like, okay, you know, like people trust me. And then someone calls you again. And it's like, okay, so I did something right because they are calling me again. So it's, I think that's, sometimes you need that. I feel sometimes that I'm sad, but I wish that I could trust myself 100%, but I think it's impossible. So sometimes you need that outside confirmation of that, okay, you are in the right path, no? And then being in this thing and feeling with Teepee and Tapiwa that we are in the same line, it's like, okay, you are developing right in the same direction.
Yeah, this kind of feeling that we are more than one. No, that's okay, there is also someone else that is feeling the same. Wow. No, I think that I see also from the chat that many people are echoing this, what you guys just mentioned. For example, when someone believes in you, when you have the space to share your own truth, everyone feels much more empowered and feels much more comfortable. But also when someone is giving you this kind of opportunity to learn from each other. And I think this is something that I would like also to dive a bit more into, if I may. Of course, each one of us, we find ourselves in completely different contexts, in a different country setting. Like Tapiwa has already mentioned that in Zimbabwe, okay, the context is not so liberal, I would say, in terms like of engagement, rather polarized. Maybe in Philippines, the situation is not the best one for youth, but maybe it is the best one for youth to thrive. So let's see a bit which are also some of the characteristics that we would like to find as youth in order to, you know, like to find our way in feeling more empowered. In many cases, I mean, and I will not preach about co-ops because I need like to be absolutely objective today and neutral. We have seen that there are a lot of, I would not say only business models, but also a lot of associations and groups and business models and enterprises that they give more spaces or collectivities, I would say. They give more space to youth in order to express themselves. And youth feels comfortable, you know. We have discussed earlier in the morning, for example, how the youth has taken the streets because social media has given them this kind of push, you know, like to go out and share their thoughts and their strength and their beliefs, actually. I'm just referring like to the climate action wave of youth. I would like for you to share with me some of the characteristics maybe that in your working environment or through your organization, either it is a cooperative or a social enterprise or an association that you participated, gave you as a structure this kind of, you know, empowerment and trust and confidence, because it's not only people, it's also the setting, let's say, or what you would like to see into those settings maybe changing for you to feel more comfortable. Any takes on this? Teepee, I see you have unmuted yourself, so can I take you first? Perfect.
Maybe when it comes to the setting on the space of the youth, I think outside our organization, there are lots of challenges for me because let's say when it comes to representation, as I said earlier, so some federations here has a youth representative in the board of directors, but some doesn't. And I think it should have a youth representation because I think the cooperative movement needs succession planning because most of the leaders here are around almost 60 years old and above. So I think it is imperative to have a youth representative in the board of directors of the federations and the big co-ops, and for them to expose themselves to the policy making and decision making, and the continuous youth engagement program for the future leaders. So that's one of the major challenges, and I'm happy that some federations, I think they have a number, just I think 2 federations. And then another one is a space for fresh ideas. So in other big cooperatives, there's this seniority. Unlike our cooperative, there's no such thing as seniority, because here we have fresh ideas that we allow the new people and the young people to give us fresh ideas for us to innovate. But in bigger and older generation they sometimes discredit or dismiss fresh ideas. So they tend to go back to traditional methods. So I think and then third is the bureaucracy. So sometimes there's the challenge here is we should have like a financial muscle. The amount of financial muscle that we should have is at least 500 million pesos for us to be heard as a sector, let's say. So that's what we need for them to recognize our presence, let's say. So yeah, but the good thing to this for us is we created our own cooperative that doesn't discredit fresh ideas just because you're young, and bureaucracy only happens to a hierarchical structure of policy making, and we want them to give space for them to speak up.
Super, thanks, Teepee. I see basically that by giving a more fluid, let's say, way in terms of governance and giving, of course, spaces, as we said, to youth, it seems that it has very good results for your cooperative. Have you seen already some impact, if I may ask, before I go to the other speakers, of course?
I think one validation that I can talk about is I think it's the replication project. So I think it's a good validation of what we did, because we made this kind of structure that we have, because it's not easy to organize a high-performing team during the pandemic. So I think that's one of the validation that I can think of right now.
Super, thanks. Thanks, Teepee. Anna, you want to come in, please?
Yeah. So for us, so I'm part of a cooperative, right, of a cooperative that was created by young people coming out of a degree that's called LANE, that it's Leadership, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation. And we operate under a university that's called Traveling University. And it's a degree for entrepreneurs. That means that the teams come in, like people come in at the age of 18 to 22, more or less, because it's an official university degree in Europe. And the goal is you learn management and you learn entrepreneurship through creating your own cooperative with a bunch of other 18-year-olds, and you manage it for 4 years. And you create real projects that make real money, so you need to build real tax because you make real money, so the government wants your tax. You need to deal with real a customer that may or may not pay you. You need to be like giving services that are quality, because your clients need to pay you for quality. So you start generating a very clear dynamic. And the good part is that the cooperatives are autonomous, so they don't belong to the university, they belong to the students. And the university has no vote whatsoever on the decision making of the General Assembly. And then what you learn, and it's super clear, it's that, you know, the huge amount of growth that the people and the company experience throughout the 4 years. It is unheard of, like the amount of personal development that the teampreneurs have, and it's incredible the complexity growth on the projects. That the projects of the first year are obviously very almost stupid, you know, like something that you can do in school, but you know, at the 4th year you see people creating real change, making social impact, and all of it's formed because of the experience that they have generated in a trusting environment. So I think it goes very well along with Teepee and you shared. It's that when you give young people and young voices the space and trust that they will do something good, they thrive, right? So for me, the replication project is also a huge step. Like in Lane International, it's very, very easy to see because you give people the freedom and the space and the trust, and then they do. Because I'm kind of tired when the people in several movements and institutions, they say like, we need to help the youth. Then the youth needs to lead. They need to take over, and then no one gives the youth the space to take over anything, because you know, power remains in the same place. The decision making and bargaining power remains in the same place, and you want people to thrive and to make decisions and to create initiatives, but you're not really giving them the space to do it. And these speeches normally create expectations. If you tell youth, we want you to empower yourselves and take over this, and that, you create the expectation that this will happen and that they are going to be able to do it. So if then you're not responsible for them to actually have the opportunity, they become frustrated. And then it's like, oh, the youth doesn't do anything. And it's like, no, the youth is frustrated because you told them that they could do shit that they are not going to do. So I think if you give young people the space to do stuff, obviously not every young person is empowered. Like not every old person is empowered. Like this is a reality. Not 100% of the people are super active entrepreneurs in anything. But the amount of people who are, they thrive with trust and freedom. So I think Lane International is a huge example, and Replication Project is a huge example. We opened a call for projects and we expected 30 projects or something, and we had 150. It took like 4 times the time that we expected to review everything, right? So I think like numbers speak for opinions, like be louder than opinions. It's not my opinion that young people thrive when opportunity is given. It's the numbers say I'm right. So yeah, I think trust, freedom, and autonomy are key, because if you create expectations and then fail to deliver, the people become very frustrated.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Tapiwa,
Yeah,
what do you think of all these that you've heard?
Yeah, I really felt that trust, freedom, and autonomy. That was, yeah, resonated with me a lot. And I think, again, sort of, you know, 2 different experiences that I am having. So on the one side, as I said, sort of as a citizen, I think there's a lot of talk about the youth here where I am, and you know, how much power they could have in sort of transforming the future and taking the country into a different place in terms of development, because there has been a lot of like discourse that we're stuck. So now there's sort of all of this chatter how the youth is the new thing, you know, they're going to change everything. And I think just building on what Anna was saying, some of it is the messaging that they are giving not being consistent with the space that they're giving to the youth. Because on the one hand, the dialogue and the discourse is that the youth are the future, but really the agency and autonomy that they have and the freedom that they have to really be a part of the decision making is just not there. So there's a disconnect there, and I think when that happens, that really sort of stifles the amount of innovation that can happen and the amount of change that can happen when there is that disconnect. And I think within my other experience in our organization, Impact Hub, which is set up as an association globally, and there's sort of a lot of agency for all of the different members and the young people that are part of the organization to make a lot of the decisions that are then, of course, decided by the General Assembly. But to bring those ideas forth, there is kind of a lot of space for that. And I think for that reason, there's a lot of co-ownership that young people feel within the organization, which is global. I think, yeah, many of their voices are sort of amplified for that reason, and they feel more agency to speak up. And I think we continue to innovate around what we're doing and really progress as an organization, because there's just so much room for people to say what they think, and then others sort of collectively make the decision to take that on or not. So yeah.
Thanks, Tapiwa. I think in general, Impact Hub has given a very good example also as a global organization in giving spaces or creating new hubs, especially for young people, where they can express and they can innovate, but through dialogue and decision making. I think that it is a very good example to pick up, let's say, in general. I see that there are many people also on our chat. Maybe I will give, because it is actually relating exactly to what we have been talking about. I think if Jot actually is mentioning what I wanted actually really to take up, the pseudo empowerment. So if Jot, would you like to share a bit, to speak up your mind and share your opinion with us around how you feel and what is your take on pseudo empowerment towards youth?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, and if you want to switch on your camera as well to see your beautiful face, please.
Yeah, that is not possible actually.
Okay, no worries.
So, yeah, due to some technical constraints, let's call it that. Yeah.
No worries.
So yeah, I think I kind of explained it in the point only, the pseudo empowerment. I would if to elaborate on the same. I think it's giving space. Yes, you have the space. You can you can talk, you can express. But during the talks of empowerment, during, like, let's say we are having different sessions of talks going on, and it is expected of you to pick up the trends as to what you are supposed to speak and what you're not supposed to speak. So over the course of discussions, like let's say fourth, fifth discussion, you tend to get an idea. Okay, this is how I'm supposed to express, and this is the track that I'm supposed to follow, and this is, you can say, I can be a bit more generalistic only in this sense, but it kind of gives an idea. You don't pick up in the first space. You think you have the space, but then over the time, it's like if you want to fit in, follow this track, or else you'll be kind of like sidelined kind of a thing. So you will always feel, oh yes, you have the empowerment, but the memory of the whole thing that has been there before you stays, and you are supposed to conform with that memory. So I think, yeah, that's what I meant by pseudo empowerment.
Thank you, Ivjot. No, I think that there are, these are the norms, let's say, of the society that we have been brought in. I would say, of course, as we said before, it is a matter of context, or always. We are all coming from different backgrounds, like cultures, countries. So I think that each one of us has confronted these kind of norms, and that we are still basically are dealing with these kind of stereotypes. And I see all the panelists nodding, so like, okay, I don't feel alone at this time. So I can absolutely echo this and support this kind of your opinion, actually. And I would like also to ask if someone else from the audience would like to share his or her thoughts around this, or maybe on how we can break this kind of stereotypes or norms through different ways of thinking, of existing, or like of analyzing things together. Does anyone from the floor would like to? No, I see Anna is putting up her hand, so I will give you Anna the floor. first, and I see
I'd rather
also
other
a
people.
Q&A on the Q&A. So I will
Okay, so
come back
if
to you.
someone wants to go.
No,
No, go
please
ahead.
Sure.
No, I always say that one thing that I think be brave. No, I think that in every moment there is a moment in every conference, in every speech, in every class, there is a moment where you can speak up. And I think that because what I realize that most of the people that, well, a lot of the people that want to speak is because they have something to say. And not everyone, not everyone should speak, but most of the people, yes. So I think that we need to be brave, and claim those spaces, because I think it's worth being heard. And then the other part is that when we create programs, we should be conscious of giving those spaces, right? And I think that when I participate in talks and then the host or someone asks for feedback before the event happens, I always try to give feedback and speak up my mind or speak up my thoughts and share openly why I think this should change or not. And then spaces where youth becomes a topic instead of a constituency, because for me this is very worrisome, right? Young people are not a topic. We're people that have opinions, that work in different fields, and we are not only concerned about youth. Youth is what we are, and we are concerned about other things, and we happen to be young now, but we will not in a couple of years. So I think it's not only a topic, it's a constituency of people that has opinions in a lot more things than just youth. And it's a little bit the same with gender, I think. So I always openly support those people that instead of having youth as a topic, include young people as a voice in different topics. And I think this is the best way to actually keep generating spaces. And be brave, and when those spaces are not in the program, make them, make them part of the program.
Thanks, Anna. I think that this actually goes a bit to the Q&A, so I will link it to this if you allow me, because basically what Arnaud is asking all of us is, does one push for their empowerment, or does it come to you? Do you fight for your empowerment, or do things that make your community empower you? So I think that, Anna, somehow you linked it to this, like you have like to feel brave, you need like to find your space, like even when you don't see it out there, you will find like always like a small crack, like to find your entry point and talk. But of course there are people that they are a bit more shy, or because also of these cultural and stereotypical norms, that we were talking about before, like be respectful. I mean, I would say always my parents still actually till today, or my grandparents that they are not in life anymore, they were saying like, be respectful towards the elders, like because they are old, that makes them right. Which is not the case, I would say. But of course, you carry all these, as another colleague was telling me, everyone is carrying his or her baggages, because of culture, because of context. So this is the thing. What do we do? I would like to ask also the rest of the speakers to feel more empowered. How we can make youth feel, not only youth, but everyone, I would like to say, like more confident, to speak out his mind, to feel what they call youth, like youth is bold. I mean, youth is bold because he's fed up. Basically, they cannot anymore like stand any of these kind of big speeches. So what needs to be done? How you found like your spaces in order like to give some examples to the other people to find the confidence and the power, like to be where you find yourselves today? Tapiwa?
That is a tough
I
one.
see you make the move of unmuting,
yeah,
so I'm
no, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I'm thinking that speaking up is a big part of it, of course, and just being bold to sort of take the space that you see is open to respond to Anna's question, that you just need to sort of recognize that there is an opportunity for you to be a part of the conversation and not be shy to participate there. And I think in the same vein, we also have to be people who sort of walk the talk in a sense. So you really need to be somebody who is feeling empowered to speak up, but also recognize that you are a part of the process and need to be somebody who listens as well. Because, yeah, if you're speaking in a context where you haven't listened, you might find that nobody understands what you're saying, and perhaps that might be the reason why you aren't listened to. So yeah, I would say it's a combination of really taking the space as you see it, but also once you enter it, just being open to hearing what others are saying, just as you're hoping for them to hear you.
Thank you, Tapiwa. I see the Teepee nodding, so I will go directly to her because either she agrees or she has like something really different to say.
I think I've been in an environment where there are more seniors than me. It's that's a very difficult question because I've been in the situation when I had to speak up, but it's not that easy. It's easy to say, but it's not that easy, especially for me that I feel so small when I'm just one person representing a group of older people. So, but my answer to that question is you can do both. So I agree with Anna, you should be very brave enough to speak up. And at the same time, you do things that that will empower you. So you can build a community who believes in you, and you collaborate with them, because in the end, when you're in the cooperative movement, you will still meet each other one way or another. So my answer to that question is you can do both at the same time.
Anna, I see you writing down, keeping notes here. Like there is a statement that is coming.
And I was super inspired by both my colleagues,
Please go ahead.
So for me, there is a couple of things that it's one is speak the truth, right? So speak the truth and don't lie, because it's easier to keep up with your truths than with lies, because then you forget who you told what. So if you're truthful, you're going to be coherent. And acknowledging that you may be wrong or your opinion may change, but know that you said what you trusted in that moment, and it was truth, right? Even if that truth is, I don't know, that's also fine. I think that a lot of people feel clueless a lot of the time.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, who is talking?
Hi, hello.
Indiran. Hi, Indiran. Can you please wait for your intervention so Anna can finish hers, please? Hello? Okay. Either
Yes.
Indiran muted himself or some of my colleagues muted him. Apologies if that happened, but we let Anna to do the intervention first. Anna, please go ahead. Sorry.
So I think that a lot of times to feel clueless is also part of the learning experience. So in that sense, it's okay to not know. It's okay to listen. It's okay to question, and it's okay that you ask questions and say that you don't know. And I think that for me, it's surround yourself with people that are positive and not like try to bring you down, because then you will never build your confidence. There are people that you surround yourself with are key. And then fall in love with the problems that you are trying to change, not the solutions that you're bringing to the table, because this will allow you to change opinions and no problem. And I think act for good, not for the recognition, right? So for me, it was a huge thing change when you realize that if you do things for the good, if you do things because you believe in the development that they will bring, despite of how it's going to pay back, the payback comes eventually, or maybe it doesn't, but you know that you did good, and then that makes you feel proud, and that builds on your confidence. So I think that those people that maybe speak for, for the claps, or you intervene or you do something for the recognition of others, you always feel a little bit disappointed. But when you do it because you believe in the cause and you want to bring the movement forward or whatever, then it happens and it's okay. And even if no one claps for you, you did a good job, and this is what matters. But I think that one of the things that for me has always been key in my organization is that the people around me were on the same boat, right? Not trying to hit you out the boat, because if not, it's going to be this situation.
You need all, we are supportive, and that you can share similar goals or vision. Sometimes I would say, in order to support each other. Is this? I think we have discussed many times about peer-to-peer learnings and, supportive collectivities, and how, in our case, cooperatives are bringing this kind of agency, or how social enterprises are creating this kind of agency, because there is a cause also behind this specific organization, association. So I think that these are all very important elements that we have to put on the table, and analyze, all of us, on whom we have around us and what for, why we do this. I will take you a bit in one of the, I would say, sort of a challenge that came out this morning in one of the discussions. And this is about actually the trust that young people, they do have in terms of decision making towards institutions. By institutions, though, I will not close it there. I would like us to discuss a bit, and let's say maybe brainstorm around elements that why you believe actually that young people, they don't trust anymore the current decision makers. It's more, it goes towards the policy perspective, but of course you can take any other aspect, of your citizen's life or professional life, on, why there is this kind of mistrust. Is it because of, I don't know, culture, because it's how we were taught to behave? What is the reason behind this kind of institutional mistrust?
Okay, can I go? Or no, maybe
someone
else.
Please, feel free. And if someone from the floor also wants to take over, please feel free to raise somehow your hand, or say to the chat, hey, I want to talk, and then I will get back to you. Thank you.
For me, it's I am from Spain. No, Spain is not the best example of steady governance right now. I don't know if you follow the news, but if you do, please. If you don't, please Google, because it's fantastic what happened in Madrid. Okay, so I think that a lot of us speak from a very, me included, speak from a very comfortable position, no? Because I will not go into politics. I don't envy anyone in power right now. I will not switch myself with anyone in power. And when the president of the Basque region right now is sharing that they need to make limitations, I don't want to be in his skin. Everyone is going to criticize him for everything that he does. If it's yes, because yes. If it's no, because no. Okay, so it's not a great time to be in politics. It's not popular to be a politician. But I think that the institutions, for me, I think there's something about the power that generates a very dark side on people, and suddenly the power becomes more important than the social agenda you had. And this doesn't apply to everyone, but suddenly it becomes, I have the feeling, it becomes more about sitting yourself in a chair than about what you really want to change. Again, there's people are doing great jobs all over the world. But for me, there's that situation when, and it's been super clear, for example, with the people that got vaccinated before of their time just because they were in power, no? And for me, it's that
With
sensation of feeling like
AstraZeneca, though, or because lately
whatever is
whatever is available.
maybe now they regret it. No, but I have the feeling that there is a moment that people go from being vulnerable and being truthful to be feeling invulnerable and smarter than their own constituency, which means that they feel that they have more power than they have. And the agenda becomes keeping that power and increasing it rather than give back to the community. And I don't know why it happens. And I was discussing with my father not so long ago whether it was because the political class are not the best governors, are just the ones that are ready to go into the public. And for example, in Spain, the salary that they get is a lot less than if you were a businessman. So we don't have the best leaders because the best leaders are in the business because they make more money, no? So we don't pay our politicians enough, so therefore it's a lot of pressure, very little salary, and unless you are super good-hearted, you don't want to do it. So for me, it's a debate that I don't feel very coherent with because I feel that I can criticize, but I will never take over, you know? And this is one of the moments that I hate taking politics because I feel like, would you do it better? I will never do it. Like, there's no way I'd run into that shit right now.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
and I just brought this question because I say also on the chat because, you know, the idea it was to challenge also a bit the power dynamics. We feel empowered, but what is the power that we want, you know, like, and until which level we want this kind of power.
I'm part of this youth network in Bilbao that in all over the world, that's Global Shapers. And in my hub in Bilbao, there are a bunch of very young people, like 24, 25, that they are super eager to go into politics, super willing to serve their communities, like from the very grassroots. And I see in the new generation, maybe in all the generations, but at least I'm seeing it now that there are people that are willing to change politics from the bottom. And I was like super excited that I'm like, okay, in my generation and my friends, no one wants to, but maybe 5 years younger and they are willing to take over. And I'm like, I have hope, you know, I have hope.
And that's good. Keep it up with the hope. I don't know, Teepee, what is also like, what does it mean to be powerful, I would say, in Philippines, maybe? Or what does it mean to, because I see, sorry, I will keep looking at the chat because people are saying, you know, as old as the age goes, power corrupts. I see Mark here saying absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Power, the poisoned chalice. We are having Ivjot like sharing with us. And there is also what Mark says, most great leaders and thinkers have thrived when they were younger than 35. Is it something that you would like to comment around this or share some thoughts around this?
Yeah, I definitely agree because the youth of today, they have very good scientific ideas. It's backed with science. That's why we're really confident that this will work. And versus what we see here is very traditional, very conservative, and we think that it's a bit backwards. So I think it's time for the youth to like step in and show the world what good scientific ideas that we have and give opportunities for the youth sector in general, even in the professional career opportunities. I think in the cooperative movement is specifically, here the options are more of the finance, the producers, the manpower placement, but where do professional artists and cultural workers like us go? So this is where we think why the youth sector should be should be part of the the decision-making process in the institutions and the governance as well.
Thank you, Teepee. Thank you very, very much. I see Mark Christian that he switched on his camera. So Mark Christian, you won't like to make an intervention, I can tell. No, not yet, that means. Okay, thank you. Tapiwa, any thoughts on what has been already stated on the chat, or any other thoughts?
Yeah, I would say here in Zimbabwe, it is different because sort of the political arena is seen as a career path, which can sometimes be more lucrative than being in business, just because you have so much more opportunity to sort of use corruption to your advantage. I mean, it's becoming less and less over time, as we speak more about how bad corruption is and all of that. But I think, yeah, from my experience, this has been sort of one of the challenges is that the people who are really trying to take that space in leadership really don't have the right intentions at heart. It's sort of trying to do it for their own personal gain, and it affects the future because all of those people are sort of working in their own interests rather than in the interests of other people. So I think that idea around their truth is not a truth that other people sort of identify with. I guess, and that really affects how we relate to one another on a cultural level. And I think it also sort of trickles down into the culture and society a little bit, and how people are, because generally there isn't this culture that you're trying to do something for the good of other people, but it's sort of you're trying to do something that's good for you first, and then sort of if it happens to have a good impact on someone else, then great, but that's not really the goal that people have. And I think this is something that is really affected sort of our generation of youth, because it's come at a time where that has resulted in a lot of like economic strife, and I kind of had a snowball effect. So people right now who are sort of considered youth don't have a lot of opportunities because they were squandered by the youth of yesterday, and because of sort of having that mindset of trying to achieve something for themselves rather than for the good of other people. So yeah, I think there's also sort of a piece around transparency, I guess, within that as well, because really the big decisions that are made that affect us as citizens seem to be made in the dark somehow. So then it really makes it more difficult for us to enter the space and give an opinion which can be validated, because we don't really know what the process was in making a certain decision and how people came to the conclusions that they came up with. So that is also something that is, yeah, stifling the space.
Yeah, I see absolutely what you mean, Tapiwa, because of course there is this sort of transparency and accountability, as we are always saying, I would say, around policy. Of course, there are, people, they need also to feel empowered in order to be able, at least to feel that they are able to keep accountable their governments, their peers, their community leaders. It is always like part of this kind of sort of power dynamics. And I think that also this relates to what, I see Jot is writing different things on the chat, but I really like to pick, maybe I will not pick, I will not read out loud, but I will give him back the floor. Jot, would you like to share your last thoughts put on the chat around, like the kind of politics and how they are exercised, not how they make a difference for youth? Would you like to share some thoughts on this?
Okay, I would like to ask, am I audible again?
Yes, you're perfectly audible.
Okay, so this thought is coming more from what Anna said, like about the politics and the kind of politics that happens, that people don't like it, is not popular. So I was reading a bit of history, and I saw that there are certain instances where any means are deployed to attain the goals, like, to acquire territory, win the war, or that kind of a thing. A kind of those dynamics are also applied in today's scenario as well, where it is not seen that the whole political scenario is different from what it was before and than what it is right now. It was a monarchical rule. The people, the kings, or let's say the queens, or whosoever they were, the leaders, they were not responsible to the people. They were like the subjects. The word that is used is they use their whims and fancies, like kind of a thing. So if they felt that this particular territory or this particular objective is to be attained, then whatever means deployed is fine. Now currently the scenario, like that scenario has changed. It's become more democratic, where leaders are no longer hierarchical but more democratically elected. Now they're supposed to be more responsive, not just in terms of policies that they're giving to those people, but how their policies are also affecting people of other countries which are also maybe democratic, and even if they're not democratic, because they're now responsible to the people. So when the means that were deployed before in the monarchical rules are applied in the you can say times which are more democratic, that is where the distance starts happening. That is where the youth starts feeling that I don't want this kind of politics, I don't like this, because you don't feel that this is representative of me, because the person who is exercising is my representative. So that's, I don't know if I made any sense. I just went on and on.
No, I think you made absolutely sense, Ivjot. I think this is something, I don't remember the name of the colleague that made this sort of intervention in the morning in another session, and he or she said, basically, we do need representatives that we do elect, and that they are young people, and they come from youth, they understand what are the challenges, that everything, the process is transparent, because basically we are fed up of whatever kind of politics they are out there. And I didn't mean with this kind of questions, of course, to bring it down to this heavy political sort of discussion. My thought, it was mainly, that, as I said before, we are all challenging power dynamics, and we see power from a completely different perspective. One of those is, as I said, the mistrust towards the institutions, but also towards organizations. And also towards, I will go back to our sort of reality, because we are all part of somehow of the social and solidarity economy movement, let's say, and that the business models that we have decided to work in, or the hubs that we decided to work in, they have this kind of socioeconomic purpose of existence. Let's say, I would like to go back to this, and we have seen, what I would like to share is that we have seen that more and more young people, they do decide to go for business models and enterprises, at least from the cooperative sector. We see a huge wave, for example, towards cooperatives. We have more young people looking for how the model works, how we can diversify the model to bring it in our own reality. And I think that there is a lot of interest around this, because of course the challenges are different, and the models need also to adapt to the new realities. So I would like also to see with you, of course, what is your opinion around this, on how these types of enterprises, they have sort of course, they entail, let's say, power dynamics within them, but what makes the difference, let's say, in between, for example, cooperative social enterprises and the usual hierarchical way that more, let's say, completely profit-oriented, rather people-centered oriented businesses are going for? Anyone?
I think,
yes, Ivjot, please go ahead. Please.
I think it comes down to the very basic definition of what they're standing on. If a corporate enterprise is simply seeking profit, then their sole aim is to generate economic value. And if you see a cooperative enterprises, its aim is to generate the cooperative values mentioned in the identity statement. And that's exactly where the difference comes. So the whole power dynamics in case of the profit-making enterprise will go towards extraction, and if the innovation lacks. And in case of a cooperative enterprise, it's more about building solidarity, it's more about self-help, responsibility, engaging democracy, all these kinds of things. So I think this is what keeps them separate, the values that they have at their core.
Thank you, Yvjot. Anyone else that would like to pick this up? Anyone else that would like to share something more?
Maybe I can
Yes, Teepee.
add something
Sure.
about the difference of the social enterprises and the private corporate versus the cooperative model. So here, what we're doing, since we're more of a workers cooperative, so it's a different professional workers working together. So we have like a very fluid governance compared to these types of other businesses. So we practice like around 5 types of structure. So the first one is so we also practice. So it's most effective in policy making. So we use parliamentary procedure and such. And then the second one is when the leader is at the center of the team. So this is most useful in the culture building and strategic direction of the cooperative. So, and then the third one is where the leader empowers its members. So this is the best way to build confidence for the younger members to take over leadership positions and major tasks and develop special or new skills. And then the fourth one is when a leader becomes a co-lead. So this is used when we're doing brainstorming sessions for fresh ideas, innovations, or campaigns. So there's no seniority here. So the leader just becomes a co-lead. And then the fifth one is when the leader is a provider or a supporter of a member. So this is used when we're hand-holding or when having apprenticeship or mentoring or handling a failing or the weakest member of the team. So I believe that these types of a very fluid governance works best in the cooperative model when it comes to collaboration and things like that.
Thank you, Teepee. Anyone else that would like to share some thoughts?
And I think that alongside what Teepee was sharing on leadership, I think that dialogue and spaces for sharing are key in order to build trust and build empowerment, right? There are some people that are natural leaders, and there are other people that, as we said before, they're shyer or they're less confident on their capacities. And I think that working with them in spaces of trust and in spaces of transparency is super key. And I think that this also applies to policy, right? So what we said before about expectation management applies to political life as well. I think that a community that feels ownership of their own agenda, a community that feels heard by their representatives, and a community is a community that will participate in the building of the community, right? Because if you feel that you're listened to, that there's spaces for your opinions to be voiced up, and then there is accountability and real action upon what you said, it makes you want to participate, right? Because again, I think that there is some failing structure to those moments where people say, let's hear, this happened a bunch of times here. There is a trend on participatory dynamics. Let's hear what the people have to say. And then there is a huge document that holds all the opinions of the, I don't know, hundreds of people that participated in a dynamic or in a poll or something, and then nothing happens. And then what? Right? As a citizen, what do you feel? You feel that that the institution failed you, right? And then the next time that someone comes and asks you, okay, what do you think about this? Why would you answer? Why would you answer? Like, why would you engage? Why would you spend your time trying to make your community better if nothing is going to change? And I think there's that's mainly the misconnection, and it's between the discourse of participation and engaged community and the real activities that happen after those participatory dynamics have been held. And I think that is the main mistrust with youth, right? There is, I mean, we're called the generation now because we expect change to happen in a very quick manner. But I think that really is because we expect things to happen, not right now, but to see some kind of change, or at least a real intention. And what I feel sometimes is that there is this discourse where we want to include people in decision making, but the reality is that you only want to hear people that have your own opinion and then create arguments that support whatever your agenda was already. And I think that is what disconnects people, that we feel used like arguments for whatever was already set up before even the dynamics started. And I think that when you generate expectations of participation and therefore change, if you don't act upon your words, you disengage the community.
Thanks
Because
a lot.
because you lose people's trust again. No, it's all about trust.
No, certainly. I think trust comes over and over, no matter age, no matter business model, no matter community or context. I think it's. I think that I will take it like as a conclusion in any case, but we are not yet there. Tapiwa, I don't know if you would like to share some thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I think, with what everybody has said, totally resonates with me. The only thing that I will add is just coming back to the question that you had in the beginning, Georgia, sort of why and how this model is flourishing at this time. And I think a lot of that, adding on to what everybody else has said, has just been, the effects of globalization in a sense, and sort of us being able to share spaces like this, where I'm in Zimbabwe, there's people from Europe, there's people in Asia, sort of sharing all of the ideas at the same time, right here on a call, and I'm able to replicate all of what all of these great minds are thinking and saying right here at home. And I think that has also been something that has caused this huge mushrooming, because the systems that we have had before of democracy, I think the oldest democracy, we saw what happened to them just a couple of months ago, and all the craziness that was happening in the US. I mean, we've seen capitalism happen, and we know how awesome it can be, but how destructive it can be as well. And I think this is just a model which people resonate with, because it is something that's focused on bringing about the positives on a personal level, but also sort of on a community level as well. And I think as more and more people understand that, they see the value of that in what they're doing, and how it can be applied in all sorts of different settings. So yeah, that's just something that I wanted to add on top of what everybody else has said. But yeah, what everybody said really resonates with me as well.
No, thanks for this, Tapiwa. And I think that you touched also a very interesting point here, because of course, I think I mentioned it at a certain point, maybe in the beginning of the session today, but of course, what we tried to do through the GIF, not only last year, but also this year, and in general around the initiatives that we are having around youth, either it is like the GIF or it is the specific initiative on the YouTHink Coop, it is to create this kind of spaces where each other can learn from their peers. We are having, let's say, the whole capacity building, it is based on peer-to-peer learning. And on this, I think that we show also that there is, of course, there is the knowledge, there is the capacity, and there is also this kind of solidarity, let's say, towards the community, in order to be able to be trained, to share thoughts and look together on how we can find better decision-making spaces, or create or co-create better decision-making spaces, I would say. Definitely, also education is another component that I think Teepee brought, and it links very well, I think, with the peer-to-peer learning. We are having, I think this is also another aspect of decision-making, because I think that through education, you have this kind of opportunity to emancipate, let's say, yourself. And when actually I was seeing Teepee talking, you know, about the people that I'm training people, and I can see them flourish, and I can see them, you know, like become the leaders of today. I think this is a great aspect that at least cooperatives, they have like in their core, let's say, of identity. But I see also that there are more and more initiatives that they are putting the access to education, I would say, because of course education is not only the university, it's also like the skills that you learn outside of school, I would say, that it is more and more important. And here I do have a question on this. Do you have also this kind of feeling sometimes that young people, they do have this kind of pressure, let's say, of, I will call it pressure, because in political discourses, the lifelong learning is presented as a sort of, you know, like the solution to everything. We learn every day and this and that, but we learn every day. It is only for young people that they, you know, that they are 30 years old and they are expected to have already 15 years of experience, or like volunteering, or like degrees, etc., etc. And this creates also another sort of power dynamic in between youth that they don't have access to, let's say, formal education, if I can call it like this, and the people that they do have access in, I will not call it informal, but rather in peer-to-peer learning and skills. I don't know, I would like to hear also on your thoughts if you find this kind of let's say power dynamics also bringing inequalities, or like how this could help youth to thrive, even those that they never had the chance, let's say, to go to the university, but they can be educated through other sort of channels, I would say.
I think with the model that we're doing, it's very, how do I say this? We make it accessible for everyone, even though they are not graduates of these premier universities. So like before, I had a trainee who was an out-of-school youth, and he learned how to animate. So we believe in the potential of everyone, as long as they're very interested in the topic. So if they are very, very excited on doing these things, it's easier to train them. So it's like a mindset. So if they have the proper mindset and they are very interested in the career that here in our organization, they're very easy to train. So I also had like student assistants that became like a full-time employee here and became a professional. And then somebody started like just in a clerical position, and we shifted him to like flying drones and everything. So that's what we do. It's very we have this like system 7, where we create a high-performing team to pilot all the departments. So if somebody's missing, somebody has to take over. So it's like a rotation of jobs. That's why they can have the opportunity to like work with this department or with this project, and as well as what else? Maybe I can also talk about the being or RedRoot having a very universal nature. So we don't care much about the religious background, educational background, as long as you are with us when it comes to the core values and the principles of the organization. It doesn't matter. So sometimes we try to be culturally sensitive when it comes to religion, but we try to be very inclusive when it comes to adding more people in the organization.
Thank you, Teepee. That sounds really, really interesting, because I think, I don't know since when I have not heard someone talking about we don't look at the educational background. This is amazing. If your cooperative really give this kind of opportunity, and it's really, I would say, I would sound really retro now, but like it goes really back to the basis of the values, that it is this kind of openness towards everyone, that we are inclusive no matter what. No, of course, no matter religion, race, but also no matter educational background. This is like another thing I think we need to discuss about our values and approach towards training and information. Would someone else
Georgia?
like? Yes, please, Anna, go ahead.
Did I unmute myself?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to share that I need to go because I have the other meeting starting at 4:30. But I just wanted to share that it was super good, and I love hearing Teepee's experience, because I've always thought that learning comes in a very different format. And academics is something that is being, it can be public, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily assured that you will have access to very quality public education. And hearing that there is companies like Teepee's that is thriving, that it's exciting, that it's like what I think cooperatives should look like, that is actually giving the chance to people from all different backgrounds to thrive and learn and be valued for what they bring and not for which certificate they have. I think it's an example to follow, and I'm glad it's being broadcast, because I think she's a great example, and this only shows how much, so I'm very excited. I hope at some point a lot more people implement this in the cooperatives, even ourselves, because I am part of a cooperative. So even myself, truth is we do look for curriculum, not necessarily judge on curriculum education, but yes, we do look for that. So thanks. It was super, slap in the face for reality.
Thank you,
So
Anna.
thank you
But
so much.
it's good to be challenged, no? It's not always that we have to agree. Of course.
No.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I think it's a great example. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna, for being with us.
Teepee, thank you so much. Sorry, I need to leave everyone in the chat. Thanks for being super active.
Thanks a lot. Ciao. We will close shortly, but I would like to take also some maybe last interventions, or maybe Tapiwa, Teepee, Mark Christian, I have your camera also on, so I can refer also to you. Mark Christian, actually you mentioned that the RedRoot core principle 5, we affirm the infinite potential of humans. Maybe you would like to share with us, what does this mean?
We actually have like 7 core principles. I think Teepee should mention the last 2, but for the first 5, it's the labor is primary, so it's always primary towards everything. That means profit or money is secondary. Second, we also affirm wage solidarity, so that's why unlike corporate structure, we always adjust our compensation system so it's more reflective, actually closer to what's reflected in Mondragon, because Mondragon has in corporate structure, it's like 1:100, or sometimes it's 1:1000. I think in Mondragon it's 1:6, 1:7. So we're also trying to like emulate the same structure. Number 3 is we want to save the world through education, capacity building, and inspiration. So that's like our third principle. And then number 4 is always do something that will make you and those around you proud. And the 5th is we always affirm the infinite potential of mankind or humankind, simply because we've noticed that when working with a lot of people, it really doesn't matter where you're from, because we're at an age where everything is at your fingertips. And if you really want to learn something, you can actually learn it on your own. So you're no longer restricted to the traditional way of doing things, wherein you have to go study in a university or do other academic work to be good at something. And we also noticed, like as Teepee mentioned, there's a lot of people who have a lot of potential, but it's just that they didn't get enough opportunity to get into a university level. But they do have the taste, they have the talent, and they have the intelligence. So as long as you train them, it's already okay. So actually, that's our test for artists here is actually more on the taste and your thinking capability and your personality. Because if you're willing to learn, we've found that we've actually had more members, better artists from people who were recruited when they didn't have previous artist training, but they were very enthusiastic about learning, as compared to artists who had very good grades, had stellar records in school, but their attitude is like I don't know how to translate the term, but it's like people who are entitled because they think that everything is already there for them. So they
have ticked all the boxes, in their curriculum, and they are absolutely perfect. Thank you, Mark Christian, for sharing this with us. I know that we will have to close shortly, so I would like to give, for the last time, I would say, the floor to Tapiwa, maybe to just give us a short reflection, because I know that at 4:30 we have to jump on another call. But please, Tapiwa, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sure. I really like the idea of the enthusiasm to learning. This is something that I've also experienced with Impact Hub. I've been there now for 4 years, but for a part of that time I was leading the capacity building effort for the network. So basically helping all the different Impact Hubs across the world to engage and learn from each other in these peer learning settings. And it was always great to see those who had, that enthusiasm, because they're the ones that learned the most and got the most out of those experiences. They're the ones that shared the most. And I think this is something that we're trying to see how we can replicate somehow to infuse that enthusiasm in some of the others. Okay. Because, when that comes to light, the whole organization at a local level really progresses really quickly when there's that 1 or 2 people who just are soaking up all of the knowledge and best practices from everywhere. So this is what I've seen. The peer-to-peer learning, especially within the setting that we have, has been life-changing for some of the organizations that we have in for sure.
Thank you, Tapiwa. And I would like actually to thank everyone. We will have to close here. I want to thank Teepee for her inspiring speech as well. I want to thank Tapiwa as well from Impact Hub. Of course, all of the people that they have been in our audience today, that they have made our chat being on fire, I would say. What I will keep maybe a few points from this session today is that everyone has to be brave and to feel in solidarity with his peers in order to find spaces to make himself or herself being heard. There are spaces for decision making. Keep your enthusiasm up, and let's try to channel some more energy around the world. Thank you very, very much. Have a lovely continuation of GIF 21. Ciao.
Thank you, Georgia. Thanks, Tapiwa.